Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you for an album review this afternoon. This is going to be a premiere video for next week because I'm recording this on September 3rd, but I'm getting this out to you next week for Gavin Dance's new album, Pantheon. I was waiting until close to the release because I know I'm recording this on September 3rd, but it's coming out a week later, this video. So, because of the fact that the album drops September 12th. So, I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the 13 tracks on the record. I did listen to the bonus track, but I don't want to review it right now because I could get in trouble if I review it too early. And I'll let you know my thoughts on all 13 songs of this 55-minute record overall in its entirety. So, let's dive into this album review. Sorry, I had to drink something real quick. Animal Surgery is the opening track, and it is a strong track for sure to open this record. It's 5 minutes and 10 seconds, but it executes very well with overall John Mess's unclean vocals starting off the track, and then Andrew Wells comes in when the pre-chorus and the chorus comes in. The lay low, you might go psycho, uh-oh, the bottle's always glued to your hands lyric was pretty catchy for how it sounded. So I was really enjoying this 5 minute and 10-second track. It definitely rocks for sure. I highly recommend you check this song out. So it's a 5 out of 5. Midnight at McGuffey's is a pretty good song in its own way. The stuck my dick in nothing thing was kind of a little bit of an oddball to listen through, but I know that's the kind of stuff they do. They make a lot of odd math metal kind of tracks. But overall, Midnight at McGuffey's is a pretty safe song. It did very well for how it sounded, and Andrew Wells' singing in this was pretty strong, so 4.75 out of 5. Not my favorite song, and sorry about the eBay notification. It's my eBay going out off on me right now, saying, oh, notifying you about something, but whatever. Sorry about the background noise. So, yeah, 4.75 out of 5 for Midnight at McGuffey's. The Robot with Human Hair Rebirth, featuring Sherm, I believe is who's featuring in this track. I think was a pretty good song for 5 minutes and 41 seconds. You're in for quite a banger. This track really impressed me for how it sounded, so I was very impressed with the execution of this track and overall how it performed with Andrew Wells' singing and John Mess's unclean vocals. Will Swan does do some singing moments too from time to time throughout this record, but overall, this was a great revised version, not revised, but a rebirth version of Robot with Human Hair trilogy, because I know they did a lot of those songs in their earlier work, which I will have to listen to their earlier work. I've only heard Jackpot Juicer in this album already, so I do gotta listen to their other material to determine if I really like them. So you will be seeing discography album reviews for Gavin Dance in due time. But overall, yeah, 5 out of 5 goes to The Robot with Human Hair Rebirth featuring Sherm. Really strong track. The Conqueror Worm is another good one that I enjoyed. I like the outro to the track, the You Want Me to Wake Up part where Will Swan is singing his moment in the track. So it really did very well. And he started off the track with This Is DGD and all that stuff. So yeah, it was a really interesting song that I was personally enjoying. So this is a great track to listen through. And the drumming in this is fantastic. So is the guitar work from Will Swan. So really rocks for sure. 5 out of 5. Trapdoor was one of the singles for the record, along with Midnight at McGuffey's. And this was another great track that I enjoyed. So I'm very much impressed with this song for how it sounded and executed. So 5 out of 5 goes to Trapdoor. Very strong track. I really enjoyed this one. Andrew Wells is singing in it strong. John Mess's unclean vocals are very strong. So this was a single that came out in July, but it is a very enjoyable track. 5 out of 5. Strawberry's Daughter featuring Kurt Travis and Zoe Manville is another good track that I enjoyed. It does have the same similar melody in its own way with how All the Way Down sounds, but it's not trying to. It's just a different kind of song, but it does very well for the execution with John Mess and Andrew Wells' vocals. So I'm really enjoying this track for how it sounded. So 5 out of 5. Then we get to Space Cow Initiation Ritual. This one was a good track. I mean, the mixing in this was a little odd, but as of listening to it again, I would say this is my least favorite track, but it's not the worst of the singles. So it's a 4.5 out of 5 for this track. I did enjoy this song to a degree, but I did have a few critiques as I went through the track with some of the mixing and production of this song. So 4.5 out of 5. All the Way Down was another single that came out in May, like late May of this year. Along with Midnight at McGuffey's coming out 2 weeks earlier than this single. So I think this track was a pretty good one for how it sounded, so it's a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed Andrew Wells' singing, and John Mess's unclean vocals are very strong in this. The start of the track where it had that Mario Kart kind of thematic melody, do, 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 and then it just goes into the song itself. So it's pretty interesting, and I really enjoyed that aspect about the track. 5 out of 5. A Shoulder to Cry On was my personal favorite track on this record. Still is to this day. Where Andrew Wells sings the chorus, which somebody called Johnny Cochran, there's blood all over this place. Liquid Agent. Something, the human race is done. Big Brother like Janis Joplin. Free Letters, Locked in Your Face. Play That Song by Sarah McLachlan. And human race is done. So I remember most of the lyrics from this track because I've heard this album since June 30th. So yeah, that's how early I heard this album. But overall, A Shoulder to Cry On is one of my personal favorite tracks. I did do a track review for this song, but to be honest, I thought that was the song that was coming out for a single, but overall, still a fantastic track for how it sounded. Great track, 5 out of 5. The Peak of Superstition is another great track that I enjoyed. I really like how Andrew Wells sings this track for the most part, and John Mess's screaming potential in this is pretty strong. So, pretty much enjoyed this track for how it sounded. And the I Was Born Inside the Matrix part of it was pretty interesting, close to the end of the track. So, 5 out of 5. The Stickler is another great song that I enjoyed, so this is a 5 out of 5 too. It is the 11th song on the record, but it does very well for the execution. So, yeah, 5 out of 5 goes to this one too. Yikes is the 12th song on the record, and it's a solid one too for how it sounds. It's another really good one. So I'd give this a 5 out of 5. The second to last track is pretty strong for the drumming and guitar work. And execution-wise, with how it's sounding overall, it does very well. The oops, yikes thing was pretty interesting. Lyric to go into the breakdown of the song. So yeah, 5 out of 5. Descend to Chaos is the closing track to this album. I know they're going to have a deluxe edition for this next year, but for now, we're getting what we're getting right now. But overall, I think Descend to Chaos is a great closing track to the record. It really captivated a lot of reminiscing moments throughout this whole record, going into this last song to close it out, and it did very well for the execution. So I'm very impressed with Descend to Chaos. It's a great closing track, and it's a 5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I would say Dance Gavin Dance Pantheon, their new album, is very strong. I really enjoyed this record. I mean, it's not going to be album of the year, but it is very strong. I mean, Space Cow Initiation Ritual featuring George Clinton was a solid track, but not one of the best. But I think Midnight at McGuffey's was another least favorite, but nothing terrible. But still, the record pulled it off for what they were going for. I think Andrew Wells fit well with this band, and this was the first album with Andrew Wells because of Tillian Pearson leaving the band due to sexual misconduct allegations being brought up about him, sexual assault allegations. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going around speculating about him being a predator and all that stuff, which I found to be true, unfortunately. But overall, if I were to give Dance Gavin Dance Pantheon a score, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. A very strong release. I really enjoyed this album from start to finish. And I will eventually review some deluxe edition tracks in due time for this record. But for now, the only thing I've downloaded from the deluxe edition was Gingivitis. But that's the song that's coming out next year. So it's not coming out this year. And it's not a bonus track. But overall, it's a... Give me a second, I gotta pause the video. Hey guys, I'm so sorry about that. I'm gonna have to wrap this video up, but other than that, I think Dance Gavin Dance Pantheon was a very strong release. I really enjoyed this record, and 9 out of 10 goes to this album. But I will eventually review Gingivitis. That was a song I did download, but it's not a song I'm gonna review as of this time. So you'll eventually see a review for it next year, before the release comes out for the single, because it is going to be a single to be expected to release August 14th, 2026, when I just found out when it releases. So, yeah, 9 out of 10 for Dance Gavin Dance Pantheon. I hope you enjoyed this premiere video. Thank you guys for watching.